So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and where we all gather tonight. In my area in Brisbane, it's the Turrbal and Yagara people. And I'd like to pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Does anybody else have any comments on the traditional custodians from the area that they're in at the moment? Does anybody know who they are?
We have the Gubby Gubby people here.
Thanks, Laura. Nobody else? Okay, thank you for that. No, and I do want to apologise that the last meeting we should have opened up with acknowledgement to country, so I would like to apologise for that. It's the first time we've done a meeting this way, and I'll be completely honest, it didn't even occur to me to start it like that. So on behalf of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community and each land custodian, I do apologise. So we'll kick off the meeting so thank you everybody for joining us. It is a bit smaller this time. We might have a board member pop in, but I'll just to say hi and give us some of the thoughts that they've had. But we had a board meeting last night, and at the end of the board meeting, the board were incredibly thankful to the whole of Arafmi for the work we've done, in particular over the period with the pandemic. What we've seen is a rise in referrals. So our service delivery, it slightly dipped during April, but we've seen our referrals increase and our workload's been relatively stable. We've had incredibly positive comments back from clients and carers about the work that we're doing and the way that we've handled this particular situation. And the board wanted to express a very heartfelt and formal thank you to everybody in the team. So every single support worker, admin worker, peer worker, the people working behind the scenes, for the really hard work that you've done to not have any impact negatively to clients. So if one of the board members does jump in, they'll probably reiterate that. I want to reiterate it as well to thank you. As a relatively new CEO, apart from experiencing my own worries and fears about the pandemic, I'll be completely honest, when this all hit, I crapped myself around what was the best thing to do for the organisation. Like I think I shared last time, keeping people in jobs was the thing that was keeping me awake at night. But there were also things around how do we make sure that we don't impact negatively on service delivery? How do we keep clients safe? How do we keep you as safe as we can? And there were certainly times where it was a real worry for me if we could do it. But every single behaviour from every single employee has shown me that, well, one, I'm not alone in the responsibility for Arafmi, but every single person has dug deep and worked incredibly hard to get some good outcomes. So I want to thank you all incredibly, and the thanks was expressed to the board as well. I promise that I did not take credit for the hard work that you've all been doing. If you think I can do something differently in terms of support to you during this time, then please let me know and I'll try and amend that. So a couple of things for the agenda tonight, and most of this I'll hand over to Jen and Laura and Katrina and Leanne around what we're doing in the client and carer space. But I just wanted to reiterate some safety measures around COVID-19. Thank you to everybody who are still maintaining social distancing, including with your clients, and thank you for maintaining those good levels of hygiene and good practices that we'd sent out before. If any of you are running low on hand sanitizer, please let us know and we'll get some more sent out to you. If you do need to buy wipes, it's been incredibly challenging for us to buy them in bulk, as in we've just not been able to do it. If you do have to buy hand wipes or any other cleaning materials, please do claim that back. We'll make sure that you're not out of pocket for that particular area. What else? We've had a couple of situations where we've been a bit worried that either a staff member or clients been unwell. And I just want to say thank you to the managers and facilitators and the staff for responding so positively to that. We had a situation even just as late as this week where we were concerned about it, and I think the response from the whole of organisation was incredibly positive. So the members of staff taking responsibility for themselves, the facilitators for managing that and letting us know, and for the managers and for staying up a bit late and working out all of our mapping. So thank you for that. It's very reassuring to know that we are actually doing the right thing. Jen, I don't know if you've noticed, it's popping up as remaining meeting time 10 minutes. Are we on the...
I'm just busily in the background trying to fix that.
Yeah,
I had to pick up my license the other day, so
all right, okay. Nothing to see here, people. So before I move on from the COVID-19, so you would have seen the Queensland Government roadmap to recovery. Can I just have a nod or a thumbs up from people if you've all seen it? Awesome. If you haven't, it did come out in the all staff email last week. So we're in the process of working at the back end to map that roadmap to recovery to our own services. But for any changes that we're really looking at for Arafmi, we're looking at stage 3, which starts middle of July. Is it the 13th of July? There or thereabouts. That's where we'll be looking at bringing back in physical connections with group supports. But we are open to looking at some group sessions or other supports like that in the park. But I think you can, for the carer support team, we're working with the carer team and with Leanne and Jen around making sure we can provide a safe venue for that. And for all other supports, it won't really shift for our NDIS service delivery. We're still in the position of wanting to maintain social distancing within the houses. So we will we do want to not have all houses at capacity. That said, we have an emergency situation this week where we may have one house at capacity for a period of time, but that's about making sure our client safety is important. So if houses are at capacity, then you'll realise that there's some back end issues with that. But in terms of service delivery for NDIS support work, I think it's carry on as usual at the moment. We did talk about the challenges of going to busy places, in particular shopping centres or parks, and I had a bit of a chat with Laura and Katrina about that this week. So what I might do is, Laura and Katrina, I might hand over to you around the particular do's and don'ts for staff during that period. Just for a few minutes to give a bit of information around things like shopping centres and safety precautions. Is that okay?
Yeah. Want to go first, Laura?
Sure. Well, as most of you have known, probably when you're going out on your own, a lot of the shopping centres are extremely busy. There's a lot of crowding, but it's also mixed. Some of the time it's quiet, and some of the smaller shopping centres are overcrowded. So we'd had the thought of, instead of having the blanket suggestion of avoiding larger shopping centres, I think we should just have the rule that you avoid crowds altogether. So there doesn't seem to be a hard and fast rule of where people are congregating in large amounts. So definitely, if you do find somewhere you're going with a client of yours that it is very crowded and you cannot safely social distance, it is okay for you to say we need to go somewhere else. And of course, if there's any backlash from the client, definitely contact your line manager immediately and get support through that, because I think the priority is to keep you safe, and it's also going to keep the client safe as well.
I noticed Troy's just asked a question around that there, Laura, where he's asking that a client's demanded they go to Riverlink, and he's asking if there's no chance of social distancing, can we still ask the client to leave if we feel it's not safe? That's a most definitely yes on that one. You have no requirement at all to enter that if you don't feel like it's a safe place to be and that you can't practice your social distancing.
Yep, I completely agree and absolutely stand by any feedback that comes back from that. Troy, in those instances, I think at the start of shifts, it's worth going through things like avoiding places like Riverlink anyway, so not getting there and then making a decision to leave, is it's fairly likely that most shopping centres are not going to be ideal, and certainly having a bit of a knowledge of Ipswich, Riverlink, it's busy enough that there's probably not a chance of it. But I think having a conversation with your clients before you go out, going, hey, if you're actively choosing to go there, that's fine. However, if I deem that it's busy and I can't keep myself safe by social distancing, I'm going to have to leave. And that puts the client at risk of either not having services or having to return home. And most clients should be able to navigate that communication and with you. If there are people where you can't navigate that, I think talk to your facilitator or the line manager around strategies to help you have communication with those clients. It's a tough one, but absolutely under no circumstances do we want you to do anything that puts you at risk, and you will have our absolute full support if you refuse service because it's in a crowded area where you can't guarantee that you have social distancing. So I just want to reiterate that as many times as possible, you will have our full support if you refuse services because you can't social distance. Thanks, it's a good question, Troy.
That includes your cars as well. For all staff that are transporting clients, you do not have to accept the client sitting in the front seat, and if they don't want to sit in the back seat, you don't have to transport them. Don't know if that's actually happening or not, but yeah.
It might feel sitting in the back seat that it's undignified or it's taxi service, but it's not intended for that way. We're in a really unusual time where it is unprecedented around how we respond to these things. So we're trying to provide as many supports as we can in a safe fashion. For those of you who read the news, you might have noticed on 7:30 last night there was an article about another organisation who have ceased services face-to-face completely with people. And we don't want to do that. We're in a position where we feel it's really important that we provide services, but with that comes conditions that ensure your safety. I've just seen Laura's cat up on the... Thank you for the...
Hi, everyone.
Laura.
That was funny.
So good question, Fiona. What if it's hard for a client to sit in the back seat because of back problems? I think that needs to be negotiated in their support plan. So where there's any individual circumstances, it might be that we can help you with, provide you with the X-Trails, or if we need a different type of car, we might be able to negotiate doing something like that. But regardless, I think your safety is paramount. So if it's a question of the person's slight discomfort, I think we need to look at other transport arrangements for that. Has that happened at the moment? Is that a circumstance that staff are facing? Just a yes or a thumbs up or a... Okay, so it's, yeah, okay. All right, so I think with those ones again, and I know sometimes my stock answer is go back to your facilitator or your line manager to manage it, but my suggestion is go back to them and, thanks Terry, work it out with them around individual circumstances. If it's about physical discomfort, then maybe there's something we can do. If it's about personal preference, I don't think that's a reasonable expectation for you to have. But Laura, Katrina and myself will have a chat about that on Monday at our senior management meeting. And if you can let your facilitators know how many people that's an issue for, we'll provide a bit of a response to it. So Laura and Katrina, just is there anything that you want to talk to people about around service delivery, with in particular around COVID-19, but any other areas?
Yeah, probably around the money handling situation, because that's been a new service that we've provided through COVID, where we're actually doing purchases on behalf of our clients now. I believe that is happening across the sites, that we are actually offering that as a service. There was an incident in Toowoomba where the public trust got a little bit shirty that we were doing this without their approval. So we have modified the money handling form to include the public trust approval for us to be able to do those transactions for clients. So we just need staff to be fairly mindful that if a client has asked you to do a purchase on their behalf, first thing you need to know is, are they a public trust client? If they are, we need to get in touch with their trustee officer and just let them know what's happening with that purchase and if there's approval for it to happen. If you don't know who the public trustee officer is, best thing you can do is call your facilitator. They'll be able to give you that information.
Thanks, Katrina. Laura, anything else from you in terms of service delivery? And then we'll open it up to some chat for the service delivery.
Nothing that's jumping to mind. I think everyone's done really well with keeping with the direction that's given. Sorry, my daughter's being really loud. But I think everyone should just keep doing what they're doing. And if you ever find that you're in a situation where you don't feel really comfortable, to feel like it is okay to call your line manager and just share with them what's going on. Because your safety is paramount. It's just as important as the safety of our clients. So please don't hesitate in getting in touch with someone to get advice if you do need it.
Cool. Thank you, Laura. Can I just get a bit of is everybody still using the forms that we sent out when the pandemic hit? The checklist for clients around having cold and flu symptoms and being in contact with people. Are those still being used? Cool, thanks Pam. Cool, awesome. All right, thanks Bradley, thanks Gary. I would just reiterate again with those, I feel I've said reiterate many times in this meeting, but I do want to reiterate that it's really important that we continue to use them for the time being. I know it feels laborious and that it's another piece of paperwork, but it more than anything, it prompts the conversation with the client around their health and well-being, which then in turn helps keep you safe. So thank you for that. Are there any questions about the pandemic or service delivery aspects that anybody wants to raise? Happy for you to put it in chat, or happy for you to be unmiked if you want to speak. Stewie whipping eggs, yes he is. Yeah. For those of you who weren't here last time, Stewie was wandering around in the background and it sounded like we were making an omelette. So it sounds like we're whipping eggs, but anyway. So any questions from people frontline delivery? Anything you think we could be doing better or differently? Things you want us to definitely not do? I will take that pause as fantastic news. So one of the Q&A questions that came out, and I think we have expressed it, is that we absolutely do not want you to put yourself in a situation that you're not comfortable with, or that puts you at risk of not being able to social distance or guarantee your safety. So just as an ending point for the service delivery perspective, absolutely support you refusing service if there are any areas that you feel at risk with, but please contact your line manager straight away. So we'll go on to just a bit about what we're doing carer-wise now and a bit of the roadmap. And I think Jen and Leanne, if you're going to tell us a bit about what you've been doing in the background and maybe some connections with the employees around alternative types of service for our clients. Are you happy to take the lead on this part of the conversation?
Yeah, I can have a chat. So in terms of our carers, we're just about to come to the end of one of our activities that we collaborated with Cork and Cromer, and we had 4 events with them. But we're busily working away on some client activities. I think last time we asked people to put their hand up to see if they could help us out with hosting activities. We have so many talented people within Arafmi. So the events that we have coming up will be beginners yoga, watercolor classes, music classes, vision boarding. We're also going to be doing a bingo, online bingo as well, for our clients. And yeah, so all of this will be hoping to launch next month in June. for the duration of the restrictions, and then hopefully to continue on after the restrictions as well. But it's mainly revolved around during the COVID restrictions, all online activities. Leanne, what do you think? Anything else?
So I can't think of anything that you've missed. I think the most important thing is that we've rolled out the cork and chroma. It's been pretty seamless getting all the arts and canvases delivered out in time to all the carers. And we're probably going to be looking at just moving things back to face-to-face once the restrictions are lifted, but with a view to continuing on with anything online that we can do, which pretty much sticks, I suppose.
Yeah, so keep an eye out. We've got a big calendar of events coming up for clients. So these are alternative activities that you can do with your client online as well. And yeah, if anyone wants to volunteer to help out, we have a few spots in need of a volunteer to help with just the moderating. We need 2 people to host a session. So we have hosts for each of them, but just someone to sort of co-host in terms of like monitoring the chat. And
it'd be someone like me sitting on the side posting up instructions as we go, so that Jen could continue to host, and then I'm just doing the admin back end of it and just making sure that everyone's okay and following along and keeping up pretty much.
And when you say volunteer, we mean volunteer, like put your hand up, but we will pay you for your time to do that. We're certainly not expecting you to do anything out of that.
And we don't want anyone to put their hand up to do too much, because, you know, you still have your Arafmi work to do, rather than don't take up too much of the volunteer workshops.
Yeah.
We do have a definite split. We've got a client list of activities and then the carer list of activities.
I noticed Jen from Ipswich has asked about whether or not the clients are being billed for those activities.
Yes, so that's what we've been working on. All of the, I suppose, the nitty-gritty in the background about how things will be billed, if we will be supplying the supplies, and if not, what supplies will they need for each activity, and a way of sort of building that into their capacity building to go out and get some supplies. So we're just going to have a chat we've got a few more chats to happen with the house managers and the people who are putting on the events, and then we'll be able to let everybody know about all of the fine details.
Okay, I saw your message. That's okay. Whenever you're ready, call about the book club. I'm ready. I'm the first member.
Is this the book club? Nobody talks about the book club.
I think that's Fight Club, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I've never been able to watch that the whole way through.
What are we talking about? I'm completely lost.
Nothing. So, Jen, just to expand on that answer around the clients, there's still capacity to claim for group supports in most people's packages. So I think if people do want to contribute and participate, there would be a negotiation about a group fee for billing. If we're in a situation where people are so stretched with their packages that it's not an option, we possibly could talk about doing a couple of free taster sessions. I don't see there's anything unreasonable with that, in particular if people are if they're unsure about the value of online support. Jen Zumo and Leanne, would that be an option to do a taster, or at least something that would be a bit like
totally.
You could easily do a taster.
Perfect. Yeah. So that might help clients see the benefit of it if that's something that they're interested in.
Yeah.
And Jen and Leanne, I know I say thank you quite a lot to people, but I do want to acknowledge the amount of enthusiasm and hard work that's gone into doing this. We were faced with a situation where Jen and Leanne had a very busy job anyway, regardless of anything shifting here. We also had Andrea, the director of the ILC funding, go back to the UK at quite short notice. And I think alongside Free and Shez, I think the team have just jumped in and created all of this incredible, wonderful resources for the carer team. I think for Ruth, Braun and Julie who are here, I think would it be fair to say the team have really helped you shift into getting online and making sure that those online supports for the carers have been there. I think we could not have done it without you. It's a significant piece of work, and I think it's given Arafmi so many more additional resources that we'll keep using outside of pandemic issues. So I just want to really acknowledge the contribution that you brought to that. It's been incredible. The feedback from carers has been wonderful. And while Leanne said that the cork and chroma delivery was seamless, it wasn't seamless. It was arranged in a seamless fashion, but there was a lot of back-end work to try and make sure that people could contribute. We had a problem with registration that was outside the scope of our control, but Leanne and Jen they worked their backsides off to make it happen, and we had a very happy carer who nearly lost out but was able to contribute because Leanne and Jen went the extra mile for that. So thank you. It's not just we know that marketing in itself is not an easy job, but you've taken on so many other responsibilities in addition to your ordinary roles. So thank you for your contribution to that.
Thank you.
So we've got a couple of other questions. So Kerry's asked another question. Is there any idea at the moment as to if short-term accommodation and cash shifts might be mixed again? That's a tough one. I think so the questions around mixing the roster, because for the pandemic we've split the roster as best we can to make sure that people aren't all interlinked with each other, although when we've had our most recent COVID scare this week, everybody was interlinked with each other anyway. So it's difficult to do. Kerry, it's a really good question, and I think that we will look at it at stage 3, but not necessarily act on it at this point. One of the questions that the board asked me last night was, are you prepared for a second wave of people becoming unwell and being tested? And I said, yes, we are. And I think to that point, we'll try and keep the precautions that we've put in place as structured as we can, as long as we can, until we know better what the long-term impacts are for Queensland and our community. What I would say is if there is a problem where the splitting of CAS and short-term accommodation shifts have caused impact on wages, please go back to talk to the manager that was sent out on that email. And I'll just reiterate who those people are. So for Toowoomba, Ipswich and Mount Gravatt, that would be Katrina. For Lutwyche, Cooey, Coolabah, Adina, that would be Laura. For support coordination, that would be Melody. Support coordination, IT, finance and HR would be Melody. And the ILC team and the carer support team is myself. If you are struggling financially or there's anything in that space that you're really struggling with, please do talk to them. I can't say it enough, nobody has approached us for help. And we want to be able to support if you are struggling. If the lack of approach is because nobody's struggling, that's fantastic. But if it's because you're worried about talking to us, I just want to reassure you that doesn't need to be a worry, and I'd like to be able to talk through whatever else is going on for you in that space. But there is support available. We will work it through with you. So the separation of the CAS and STA will hold at the moment. So thanks, Kerry. So a couple of clients have been asking, and that's fair enough. And we do want to respect clients' choice and control of who they're working with too. So I recognise that it's maybe not ideal, but if we can just work through this tough time, then we'll get to a stage where it can be a bit more relaxed. And Christy's just said, I like the way our work is set up. You believe it's working. Thank you for that feedback. Cool. Any other questions or feedback about that particular area? Nope. Well, I think that's it on the agenda for us in terms of helping share. We've got enough time to open it up to questions. Sorry, we did have a question from someone about Cert 4. So a question was asked that if a person gains certificate 4, does that mean that they'll get an increase in pay or an increase in grade? My moral answer is I would love to be able to do that. The organisational answer is that to be able to budget effectively to make sure that we can provide all the services we can, we count the level of role that we have and how that works. So for general support work, we can't go beyond level 2 and in some instances level 3 under the SCADS award. We have just sent out an advertisement for a new role, so complex care worker, which is going to be at level 3 and possible level 4 roles. And that's because we've got a package of that around complex behaviour, so the hourly rate that's attached compensates for that. Well, I think Cert 4 and other qualifications are fundamentally important to the value of the role, but I just want to flag that we have support workers who have got degrees. Qualification in itself, while I think it's really important, isn't necessarily linked to the duties of the role. But I do see the value in Cert 4 as an upskilling. Now, I know that probably sounds like political fluff where I've not actually answered your question, but the short answer is we can't just give people wage rises dependent on their qualifications. But if you believe that your role is more than what it is on SCADS, or we're asking you to do things outside the scope of your role, I'd be happy to have a chat with you about what that looks like. Does anybody want to make any comments on that, or you're all muted? Yep. Can you foresee? Yeah, Joe, good question. Yes. Can we foresee casual staff being entitled to be paid annual leave? I think the SCADS Award's working on a couple of different options for that at the moment. I absolutely abhor the reliance on casual workforce in Australia and within Arafmi, and I think I explained that at the staff conference. The flipping to changing it's not just as easy as implementing the change. I have to work with the board on budgets and can we afford it long term. I've just spoken to Katrina and Laura about this today. And what we're going to do is send out an expression of interest to all employees who have been with us over a year, whether or not they want to get permanent part-time roles. We have offered that to some people in the past and they've said no, or we've not been able to make it happen. But looking at the new financial year, we'd be looking to implement more permanent or at least contracted roles, which I hope will give you all security for the future. Yeah, Joe, so Joe's just saying, thanks Irene, hearing it in the news that casual staff will be entitled to be paid annual leave. I think there's a bit more to work on in that particular area, and we are keeping an eye on it. I am fully supportive of, from a personal perspective, of casual staff being paid leave. I think the way that it works at the moment is tough, but we do have the conditions of it being, you get 25% more on your hourly rate to allow for that. But I think we all know that that's not, nobody saves 25% of their hourly rate and puts it towards a holiday fund, and it still doesn't help people who've only been in a job 3 months. So I do completely agree. I come from a country where we provide universal health care and you get sick leave if you're sick, regardless of what kind of contract you're on. So it is a little bit challenging, but we're working through it as best we can. But we are keeping a keen eye on the SCADS award and the new developments for it. So we'll keep you up to date as a whole staff team if there's something comes from that. But thanks for the question, Joe. Any other questions or comments? Nope, you're a quiet bunch tonight. Are all of the Ipswich team here?
Do you want me to unmute everyone again?
You could do. The last time we did that, it got a bit noisy, but I'm happy to give it a try.
Ruth has her hand up.
Oh, Ruth, would you like to? Yep. Do you want to ask it on camera?
well, I'm here. I just wanted to mention to the support workers if they can just let the families know that there are support groups happening on Zoom, because it's a double-edged sword with the isolation from families as well as their clients. I've been hearing that from both carers, because they've lost their jobs and now they're stuck at home as well with their loved ones, and it is getting a little bit frictiony, to say it nicely. And I have to say, I have gotten so many new carers to Arafmi via Zoom. It is amazing.
Great.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yay.
So I know, I'm so excited that, and they're excited about face-to-face stuff happening too, you know, so we can all meet in person, because they just pop on. Some people don't even like re-register, they just keep the link and just, oh my God, I've ended up with more people, but it's great. Yeah. So I've had that feedback from carers, like they've lost their jobs, so they're isolated, and now their loved ones isolated as well. So the friction that's happening within the household. So just to let carers know that there's something out there for them. And some of them do feel they feel safer on Zoom than they do going into a room of strangers.
Yeah.
And
oh, absolutely. Ruth, can you just share a little bit more about the online stuff and maybe some of the community's perception that online wouldn't be taken up well? I know I heard a lot of feedback that people were like, oh, people won't do Zoom, especially older people will not do Zoom.
Older people, yeah. I did expect more from the regions than what we've gotten, but it's been amazing. I knew that it would work, but not as well as what it has.
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed. And I've had the request of, can we keep this going?
Yes.
The ones that can't get to groups, and I've said, yes, we'll do 2 a week at least, you know, because there are some carers that don't feel comfortable leaving the house, but they're really enjoying meeting other carers. So it's opened up a whole new world. And some of them stay, don't put their cameras on, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, you know, they enjoy the conversation and just linking in with others. That's been really, really positive.
Cool.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, well, we are too. And again, Ruth, to you, Julie and Bron, I know that would it be fair to say it was a bit challenging in the first instance with
that is an understatement.
But I think it shows. Was there snotters and tantrums and
there was a few tears. I won't say tantrums, but yeah, I've had a couple of wobblies, I'll be honest. But I'm at that happy stage now. I'm happy to stay home. They say it happens like that.
Yeah, and
but just learning new technologies and new ways of working. I mean, it's been a challenge, this whole COVID thing. But I mean, it's great. It's stepped me up, you know. It's got me out of my comfort zone, and and yay, I can do it.
You can do it, and thank you so much for embracing it. I do realise it's been really tough, and I think for the carer support team, where you've worked solidly together for a good few years, and probably not had to really look at changing the way that you work too much. And I think that's okay. That's understandable in a workplace where things just tick along, and it can be really challenging when we're forced or encouraged to change your way of working. But thank you so much for embracing it. And I cannot express the positive feedback we have had from carers, and carers of an older demographic, where I've heard so many times that people over the age of 60 will not use IT, and that it's just not true. And I think what we've brought into that's enthusiasm and care, and people have really stuck in with it. So thank you to you and the team for keeping going with that. I know it was tough for a while, but I think you're definitely out the other side of it.
That's great. It's been fun. I like a challenge.
Yeah.
Some little challenges, Irene. Little challenges.
It would be fun if it wasn't challenging.
Thank you.
Okay, so Daniel's asked about the links for events. Can we send them out? So Jen sent out a link to all the calendar events. Yes, please, absolutely share that link to whoever you choose. If people are struggling to register, let us know and we'll walk through it with you.
So there's going to be a lot more events added to that calendar over next week. So we'll be adding all of the carer support groups on there, and then the upcoming client activities. That's where you'll find them. is in the upcoming events in our website.
Cool.
Exciting.
Cool. And I suppose one thing that I forgot to mention that I'll just talk over very quickly, there's been a few changes in the staffing structure. Nothing significant, but Laura Grant's taken on managerial responsibilities for the carer support team, because we had Zoe Cunningham in place and she's moved on to Queensland Mental Health Commission. We always knew her role was going to be temporary, so she absolutely goes with our blessing, but she's moved on to Queensland Mental Health Commission, and just to help the team keep coordinated for a period, Laura's taken on some extra responsibilities to do that. And Katrina is now taking on responsibility for support coordination. So Melody will still have some oversight on that, but Katrina will be the support coordinator's direct line manager, and we're going to review the whole structure September, October time, once the board have developed our new strategic plan, just so that we make sure we've got the right staffing model in place for what the board want us to do over the next couple of years. And I mentioned in an email that Jess Morrissey's back on board. So Jess and Mick were at the last meeting. I'm not sure if they're here tonight, but Jess and I have been working to develop a learning and development package for the team. So Jess is going to spend some time while she's coming back from parental leave and still working at home and working out structure with their very, very adorable child, Sophie. Jess is going to be working on training and development for the staff. That was one of the key priorities that came from our quality audit review, was that we don't have enough structure or training opportunities available for staff. So Jess is working on that at the moment and working on a framework for community of practice sessions. So a bit like group supervision with no manager in place, where you can work through problem solving or professional development. So Jess has been back at quite a few weeks now and is working on it. The first thing that she's working on, which should hopefully be out the next couple of weeks, is an easy guide to completing progress notes. Because one of the things that we've noticed is that probably needs a bit more structure and guidance around how to complete them. So Jess is doing that, so that should be ready in a week or so. So I think if you're comfortable, please welcome Jess back. There's the role that she's doing, or her job title, everything's exactly still the same. She's just doing some very specialised projects for us at the moment, because we need somebody to do it in Jessie's area of expertise. She's all over that, so I'm really grateful that she's been able to take part in this project as well. So that's just an update on staffing movements. But any final questions or comments before we love you and leave you for the night? Nope. You're all very quiet. It's very disturbing. I'll take that as that everybody's happy, but if you're not, or you don't want to raise anything in a group environment, I continue to encourage you to touch base with me around it. I might not always agree with your feedback, and I think that's okay. I think that's a really healthy environment to have. But if you do feedback about things we can do differently, please let me know. I can't change anything if I don't know what we need to change. So I do want to encourage you to give me as much feedback as you can, and hopefully there's a bit of trust that we'll change what we can change. Okay, well, if nobody else wants to comment, we'll leave you for tonight. We'll probably schedule in another Q&A in about 4 weeks. So just to give you an update on stage 2. I don't know if anybody heard that. My home giggle just said they didn't understand me. It's not the first time I've heard that.
Is that what that was? I did hear that.
It's not the first time it's said it doesn't understand what I'm saying. So yeah, we'll have another Q&A in about 4 weeks so that we can cover stage 2 progress of the road to recovery, and then work out where we're jumping into stage 3.